Windscale, the pride of Britain. Nestled in the picturesque Lake District, the state-of-the-art atom plant has transformed this rugged landscape into the envy of its northern neighbors. Scientific progress waits for no one.
Windscale. Everything changed when that bloody atom plant went up in flames.
Citizens of Wyndham, there has been an increase in bandit activity outside the village walls.
Temporary quarantine, they said? It's been bloody years.
They're hiding something from us. Something terrible.
My name's Molly. You got out to trade? I got bits and bobs for sale.
Please be careful. It's more dangerous than you can possibly imagine.
Threat detected.
You've got to start off with a postbox.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where else?
I mean, it's on your T-shirt as well.
Yeah.
It must be quite a core feature of Atomfall, I assume.
It is actually.
Oh.
So, as you explore the world of Atomfall, you're uncovering a mystery. You're discovering what's happened in this post-apocalyptic quarantine zone in 1950s north of England. Different characters will ask you to do things for them, and they might help in return. And one of the characters that you can interact with is this mystery phone voice. You don't know who they are, you don't know what they want, and you have to choose which characters you trust and don't trust in your exploration.
Kind of like Bosley, Charlie's Angels vibes coming through the phone.
Yes, yes, exactly.
I
Yeah.
like that. That's cool. You know, speaking about the story, and Henry, you mentioned it earlier. True story. Like, what is
Surely
that about?
Yes, well,
Surely not.
yeah. It's based on real-world disaster that happened. The first major nuclear disaster in the world was in Windscale plant in Sellafield, so 1957. We wanted to use that as a jumping-off point for a story. So Jason Kingsley, one of the owners and founders of Rebellion, observed that there are lots of games that are kind of like post-atom storytelling, like post-atomic disaster storytelling, but none set around this first disaster that's happened in the world. So we took that as a starting point and then thought, what's a Rebellion kind of interpretation of that kind of event? So, like I say, we value that kind of sandbox exploration and player freedom, and then combine that with the sort of unique Britishness, and that led to the environment that we've got in the game. So it's kind of an alternate history story, and it's a mystery that you uncover what's happened. And as part of the process of building that game world, we looked back at 1950s storytelling. So references like the Quatermass series, which is one of the very earliest sci-fi serials, or like early Doctor Who, and things like that. So like UK TV Gold kind of cultural reference points that even if people don't know the reference itself, they know the influences that came from it. And at the time, there wasn't a clear distinction between like folk horror and sci-fi and those kind of stories. So it's a blend, it's a natural blend in the storytelling style of the 50s.
And of course you had to chuck some cricket bats in there for good measure. I mean, the combat's pretty crunchy, right? I mean, this is, like you say, a bit of a departure from Sniper Elite, which is typically long range, but in here we're getting right up, even the fact that it's first-person camera as well. Like, these are conscious decisions you've made. So why did it feel right for Atomfall to treat it that way?
So in the case of Sniper Elite, you are an elite trained sniper. You know, Carl Fairbairn's like a human sniper rifle, right? He knows exactly how to fire a shot, miles to take out that one guy. This is a different character in a different situation. We wanted it to be a mystery, so there are no signifiers of age, race or gender for the player character. They're wearing gloves, so you don't know who they are. Their backstory is part of the mystery that you may or may not uncover as you explore. We wanted you to feel more like it's not so much a war zone as a pub brawl. You're desperately attempting to survive. There's not much ammo around. The guns are all rusty because everyone's been trapped in this quarantine zone for 5 years. You're mixing melee and ranged combat. You can throw your melee weapons. You can kick people to make them stagger back. We wanted you to be constantly, desperately mixing options and scavenging desperately for resources. So there's a real kind of tension as you play, which is very, very tonally different to Carl, who's calm and controlled and reads an entire situation before he decides what to do.
I think we can definitely get on board with the pub crawl element.
My entire playthrough is like it's a scene from Kingsman basically, and it's gonna feel good. It's gonna feel great.
Talking about Kyle and you know that he's an iconic character. What about the characters in Atomfall? Our player character isn't maybe so much of the focus, but are there other people that we're going to meet that are going to be key?
Yeah. So I need to have the right answer that doesn't spoil too many things. But as you explore the game world, different characters will ask you to help uncover the mystery of what happened in the Windscale plant and maybe ask you to do something when you get there. And if you do that for them, they might try and find you a way to escape this quarantine zone, or they promise to. So as you explore, you've got to decide who you trust and who you don't trust, whether you think they're telling the truth or trying to manipulate you, whether you believe the same things as they do. So it's all murky shades of grey. There's no good guys and bad guys, and it's all completely open to the player. So you could theoretically kill every character in the game, and there's still a way to finish the game. You could theoretically play through and kill no one, and there's other routes available to you. So we really pushed hard into giving the player lots of options and lots of rewards for observing and choosing what to do. So there's lots of tropish characters, lots of kind of characters that fit this world of being north of England, and also being 1950s, 1960s culturally.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, as a fellow Scot, Ben, really quick, are there any maybe Scottish people in there that we can look forward to meeting? I'm sorry.
Spoilers, but what we have done is we've taken like 1950s sci-fi, 1950s, or like old-fashioned folk horror type trope characters and Cold War scientist trope characters, and you'll meet those kinds of people as you explore through the game, and then still decide whether you trust them or not.
Okay.
So we got pub rules, we got crazy characters. They're all living in this open world that we're experiencing. Can you tell us more about that? How did you construct it? How big is it as well?
Okay, well, what Rebellion excels at is these deeply packed kind of sandbox maps. So the way that we've structured Atomfall is a series of like 5 or 6, depending on how you count, sandbox maps like the one you can see just now. And you can travel freely between them at any time. They're all thematically very, very different. And then there's loads of interiors and like large-scale, story-driven locations that you might uncover, as well as bunkers that are full of loot that you might find. What we wanted to do is really lean into that densely packed kind of puzzle box. So I've spent all day watching people play the game, and no two playthroughs have been the same. People can approach it all very, very differently, get different experiences. As you explore the game, you'll find leads as well. So we don't have a kind of quest system. We've got leads that you piece together clues that help you understand what's happening. So we built this puzzle box, this sandbox of interconnected options for the player, and then we just let them go for it. They might find a difficult, dangerous place and die, but we signpost very clearly that it's a dangerous place, and then it's kind of up to them what happens.
That's right. I love a puzzle. I'm buzzing. Yeah. We're great at solving them together, to be fair.
Well, we could work on it. I mean, you just said that there'll be leads that players can follow. Tell us a bit about how they're equipped to do so, because we just saw like literally pulling out a metal detector and taking part in that great British tradition of finding some old coins or whatever it could be. But what are the other ways we can do that?
Yeah, so you might find a lead that someone's hidden in a box under the ground somewhere. They've a bit of storytelling around it to draw the player in and make them try to understand how it fits to the game world. But there's also characters that you might find in the world. There's friendly characters that you can barter with, and they might sell you or rather trade something with you which has a lead in it. Or if you do some trade with them, they might get friendly to you and give you a lead. You can also have conversations with characters, and if you might choose the right choices, you might get some more information from them. The way that we've approached those is the same kind of high stakes player freedom. So you can get the conversation wrong, right? You're not working your way down a list of conversation topics until they grey out and then moving on to the next one. It works more like a real conversation. So if you judge their personality wrong and say the wrong thing, they might shut down and stop talking to you. And you've pruned a chain of leads that you might otherwise have found something interesting in the game world. So you're always having these influences and layers that you may even not notice are there.
That sounds so smart. I can't wait to dive into that as well. That's so cool. I understand there's some crafting elements in that as well, and also, you know, metal detectors, scavenging. Can you tell us what that kind of looks like in Atomfall?
Sure. So the player's desperately trying to survive and finding materials to help them survive. Yeah. So even if they find a gun, there might be 3 bullets for the gun. So they can find materials that let them craft things to help them heal or help them in combat, so Molotov cocktails and makeshift grenades and things like that. So you find yourself trapped into a corner and you can make these resources that help you survive. Like I say, we're trying to make sure that we find this sweet spot where you feel kind of desperate as you're trying to survive. We want you to use everything that you find. We've made sure your backpack capacity is quite limited as well, so you're really pushed to make these difficult choices and decide even whether you want to engage in a fight or not, whether you want to avoid it entirely, you want to choose the right moment and try and take out 5 guys with a Molotov. It's all really, really high stakes, but it makes it very rewarding when you manage to pull something off.
It looks like our player right now is making a horrible decision by going into a restricted area. Already seen a ribcage. I mean,
yeah. I mean, so
this is going to go great.
Like I mentioned earlier, if you're heading into somewhere difficult or dangerous or scary, we make sure and signpost it. So you know, if you go into a place like that and then you die, you go, "Oh, I should have guessed. Yeah, there was a skeleton outside."
Yeah, that one's on me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To be fair, I'm very good at ignoring red flags, so we'll see about that.
And in terms of the player's progression then, so you're making all these decisions, you're making friends with everybody, you're crafting your gear. What about skills, anything like that in the game?
Sure. So there's a range of skills that help reinforce the player's ability to survive in this dangerous world. So there's a chain of skills that are for melee combat, ranged combat. There's sort of durability skills that mean you can take more damage and survive in dangerous areas. And then also abilities that help your overall survival, like disarming traps and things like that. So really we wanted to keep it grounded so that there's always that sense of threat and pressure, but we wanted to give you some advantages. So you might learn a skill that lets you throw a melee weapon, and if it's bladed, it will stick in targets and things like that, just to help give you that edge over the course of the game. As you can see in this location here, they're in a kind of dark and then scary interior. So we've got the player's progression, but then there's also a kind of game world progression where they're uncovering a mystery. So quite literally, they have to push deep into the world and into the underground of the world to find these dark and scary places. We try and keep it tense the entire way through the game.
I was going to say, because there is the sci-fi element, but there's a bit of horror vibes I'm getting too. Like, so with us competing with people maybe on a top level, and now we've got into this bunker, there must be some monsters of some kind.
Yeah, we just saw a little glimpse of something scary and monstrous, and as you push into the mystery, you will find more elements influenced by what happened. But yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said earlier, the storytelling style of the 50s and 60s didn't really have a division between folk horror and sci-fi. There was like a blend for a certain kind of story that was addressing the Cold War, but in a way that wasn't too political, I guess. So, you know, folk horror stories are about the division between rural and urban civilization and how there's a tension between them, and Cold War stories are about fear of the outsiders and others and that sort of thing. And there's thematic resonances between all of these different storytelling styles, which make it really easy for us to push into these otherworldly horror elements as you push into the mystery.
Nice. That's so sick.
We've got quite an atmospheric bunker, like you said, as well. Have you got a favourite part of the maps that you can share us with? Again, nothing. I'm really pushing it here, but any favourite place to maybe have a picnic or anything like that?
Well, actually, there is a favourite secret place which I can tell you about a little bit. So, as the player is starting the game, they're given one lead. A person tells them that the heart of this mystery is a location called the Interchange. So to begin with, you're trying to find this place, and as you make your way in, it's all unpowered, it's been shut down, it's been quarantined, and you push into it and open it up more and more, and it's like an unfurling flower as you find all of these leads that are the heart of the mystery. And the more you find, the more leads there are to find. So you end up in this kind of like snowball effect.
He's just picked up a Cornish pasty.
Oh yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah. Well, this is pre-Greg's era, I suppose. So we'll take what we can get for now.
That's brilliant.
Just don't
Oh my
ask what
gosh.
meat's in it.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
It's really fun for me to see like the contrast between that dank bunker we just came out of, and then like the overworld is so lush and vibrant. And listen, I've been to the north of England. It's not always this green, so sometimes, yeah, exactly. I mean, I live in London, and it's just grey all the time. So any green I can get is good. But
it's the Lake District on a good day.
Yeah, exactly. So, will we see many other types of biomes or environments in the game as well?
Yeah. So one example would be there's a woodland nearby, but it has more of a kind of spooky folk horror-ish tone. As you get into it, it feels more mysterious and occult. And there's a group of kind of pagans that if you tread wrong, they'll cut your face off with sickles, you know. Yeah. Or you can find a friendly character who's sort of part of that group and talk your way into their compound. So we give you all these different options to, you know, for whichever faction there are, ways to befriend them or get in a fight with them.
We need to stick together. We need to be a crew.
We're on the run from people with space guns built into their arms.
Dustborn isn't about making the big and immediate choices. It's about the little things that add up over time. The words spoken that affect relationships and moods, the decisions that stick with you and play out when you least expect them to, the actions that push your relationships in new directions.
I guess this explains why you're suddenly so eager to chase after the robots.
Oh, keeping secrets again, huh?
It's about making tough choices, about how to deal with the people in your crew, how to manage them, and pull them together to do the job, and to make the compromises necessary to reach the end of the road and your own personal goals.
We'll be taking a different route north, through Liberty, Oregon.
Liberty? I would actually like an explanation.
I concur.
Think of the game as a way to write your own comic book as you play. Each chapter or issue starting with a new cover displaying what you're about to experience, and each of them ending with a comic splash screen. These pages present key choices made in the previous issue that could have an impact later on. Whether a dialogue line or event plays out because of a choice made by the player, an icon will appear in the top right corner of the screen, allowing you to really get a sense of what could have gone differently.
Stop it! Oh, what the hell, Pax?
What now?
Drive. In the comic splash, you'll have access to more data, such as global stats about how many other players received this particular consequence, allowing you to gauge how popular this choice was. Some choices lead to crew mood change, which can have an impact on your relationship with them, but also on their personal endings.
Are you just gonna hover?
We didn't finish our chat.
No, we were finished.
I'm worried about you, and I had more to say.
I'm sure, but I was done.
Every key crew member in the story receives one of 3 endings, or codas, based on choices made and actions taken by the player and Pax. Each coda is illustrated by a comic book-style splash screen, along with unique dialogues and events reflecting each character's current status. The player can at any time access the character codex to see which coda is the current favorite.
The crew respects you. When you're unhappy, they feel it. I'll keep that in mind.
Whenever a dialogue choice or action affects a coda, the screen will display a coda emoji, along with an animation that tells the player how important this choice was. It'll be up to you to decide how the road trip goes and how your relationships will evolve. Will Noam break away from their on-again, off-again relationship with Pax, or embrace it? Will Theo loosen up with the crew, or favor his boss status? Will Ziggy resolve her sister issues with Pax? Discover how it all unfolds in Dustborn. Available now.
What's the name of your band?
We're the Dustborn.
There is a dream that haunts me. A most dreadful nightmare, truly. It tears at me. The fortress of stone and valor, which I struggled to build, is is now slowly crumbling into ruin. The land, caught in a perpetual autumn, yields to decay. A futile sacrifice remains ensnared deep within the horns of the south. A shield, now weakened and cracked by time, fails to protect my people. A profound betrayal has befallen those most loyal, yielding only despair. I am left paralyzed, powerless. Not more than a witness. My people, my legacy, everything is collapsing. They hailed me as the once and future king. Only now do I understand the horror of that title.
Hello everyone, I'm Marco Rizzo, Product Manager of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Thank you for joining us today in this exciting showcase. Today we will show you some new and exciting gameplay footage featuring characters that we have revealed during the opening night live. But before that, let me give you a reminder on the 2 single-player game modes that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has to offer: Episode Battles and Custom Battles. First up is Episode Battle. In this single-player mode, you can take the point of view of 8 different characters, including Goku and Vegeta, and enjoy famous battles from the anime. For each stage, you'll be playing through an introduction before heading into some of the most iconic fights in Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. The number of stages and battles vary by character.
We're here to take you down, simple as that.
Next up is Custom Battle. In this mode, players fight in battles that each have their own original scenes. Some battles will also have different victory condition, and some might even have event cutscenes pop up midway, so you'll be able to enjoy battles different from the norm. Using Edit mode, you'll be able to freely set the characters to be played, as well as the pre-battle and post-battle cutscenes, in order to make your own original battle. What you've made will be able to be uploaded and viewed online for the whole world to play, so hope you enjoy sharing the battles and situations that you have created. Now, the moment you've been waiting for. Coming straight from the Majin Buu saga, Ultimate Gohan is our latest addition to the roster. After his rigorous training, he is ready to show his power in an all-out fight against Kefla in her Super Saiyan 2 form. Enjoy!
本気を出させてもらいますよ。もう参ったは効かないぞ。どうだ。俺との実力差に気づいたか？